Good morning, kids and families of the heart. I hope you guys are having a wonderful Sunday morning. I want to introduce you to some friends of mine, David and Paula. They are longtime volunteers with our kids ministry, and they love telling stories together. I'm really excited to share with you their rendition of the story of Esther. Now, the story of Esther is really interesting. It takes place in a country that's not even the one that we normally study, Israel. During this period, the Jews were actually still in exile. Another country, Babylon, took them away from their home. Babylon fell to another nation named Persia. So we find these people that love the one true God stuck in a strange land with strange customs. We're going to be introduced to a handful of characters: Esther, Mordecai, a bad guy named Haman, and a king, Xerxes. Would God be with them when their whole world was turned upside down? Well, that's what we're going to find out about. Now, I want to say this in light of some of the current events you kids may be aware of, that what we witness in this story is kind of some of the stuff that's going on today, where people are viewing each other poorly because of what they look like or what they believe. Haman, the bad guy in this story, is someone who hates, and the story doesn't end well for the one who hates. Let's see how God comes to the help of those who need help, those that are oppressed. Would God come to the rescue of those who are on the other end of Haman's hate? David and Paula are going to set the stage for what we see happen with this bad guy named Haman, and we'll see what God does to come to the rescue of his people through one particular woman, and her name is Esther.
Hello, boys and girls and
Hello.
families. Today we're going to talk about, what are we talking about, Paula?
Oh, we're talking about the story of Esther in the book of Esther in the Old Testament.
So this story took place before Jesus was born, probably about 1,200 years ago, and it took place in what is in modern-day Iran, which is in the Middle East. At that time, it was called Persia, and Persia was a very rich country. It was so rich that the king of Persia wanted to show off how rich he was, so he gave a party. What do you think? Is party a good idea?
Yeah, but it wasn't just like a birthday party. It wasn't like one night. It was long. It went on and on and on and on and on, like for a whole week. That's a long party.
So they're eating and drinking and doing way too much drinking.
Wait, what was his name?
Well, it starts with an X. What's it?
Xerxes.
The king did a very bad thing. And
What was the bad thing he did?
Well, he decided that he wanted to show off his queen to all of his drunk buddies.
Wait. What's the queen's name?
Oh, Vashti?
Vashti, yeah, that's it. I forgot. Yeah, Vashti. Queen Vashti.
So Xerxes demanded that his queen Vashti be brought before him and his buddies to show her off.
She said, I don't want to go see you and all your drunk buddies. And so she said, no, I'm not coming.
And the king was furious, so he fired the queen. You're done.
Said, now I need a new queen because I got to have a queen, because what good is a king without a queen?
Let's have a beauty pageant, and we'll get all the prettiest girls in Persia to come and try out to be queen.
It's like, you go to the spa and you go to the hairdresser and you go to get your makeup done and you get a massage and all that stuff. You get your nails done.
Eventually, the king got to pick. So there was this one pretty girl, and her name is
Hadassah.
And then what was the other name?
Well, she grew up as Hadassah, but when she went to the court of the king, they changed her name to Esther because Hadassah was a Jewish name and they didn't want anybody to know that she was Jewish.
She had...
No, he was an uncle.
No, he's a cousin's dad. He's a cousin's dad, so it's sort of like an uncle, and his name is...
Mordecai.
So they're the heroes. The heroes in the story are Vashti, because she said no. Esther, of course. She's the heroine. And her cousin uncle...
Mordecai.
We're back in, and the king's trying out, like, the beauty pageant, and he likes Esther.
Esther wins. Yay! She becomes the queen.
Okay, everything's going on in the kingdom just the way it was. Another bad guy comes into the story, and his name is Haman.
Like, hey man, how you doing, Haman?
Or my version, horrible Haman.
So Mordecai would sit at the entrance to the gate of the temple, and remember that was Esther's relative, and Haman would walk by, and Haman was really proud also, and he got mad because Mordecai wouldn't say, Haman, you're so great, you're so great, I worship you, because Mordecai was a Jew and he only worshiped the one true God. And so Haman got mad because Mordecai didn't bow down to him.
But the king really liked Haman and made him second in charge. So Haman was a big deal. So Haman came up with a plot.
Since Mordecai sat outside the gate all the time and hung out at the palace, he kind of knew what was going on. And one night he heard these two dudes saying that they were going to kill the king. And so he warned the king and all the officials, so he saved the king's life.
And that got written down in what I'm calling the diary of the king. Haman was number 2 guy, and he went to the king and said, King, there's this group of people that doesn't follow your laws and the way they're supposed to behave, and how about we'll kill them? And of course, Xerxes, whose nickname is Xerxes, because he's a jerk, said, oh yeah, good idea, let's get rid of all those people. He didn't ask who they were or exactly what they were doing. He just believed Haman.
You know, you guys just learned the story about Joseph and how Pharaoh put him second in command, and the Pharaoh gave him the signet ring. That's how Haman was. He had all that power.
All the Jews are going to get killed, and Mordecai finds out, and
Mordecai finds out, and all the Jews find out, and of course they get really upset. So Mordecai approaches Esther and says, Esther, you're a Jew. Don't think you're going to escape just because you're in the palace. You're going to get killed too. And you got to do something about it.
And then there's a really great saying, you've come to your position for a time such as this. So a lot of times, boys and girls, moms and dads, whoever else is watching this, you can think, oh, woe is me, life's bad, why do I have to do this? That's kind of like Esther, because this is way out of her comfort zone.
So she didn't come right out and say, hey king, Haman's a bad dude, you got to get rid of him. She didn't do that, because remember, the king didn't even know she was a Jew. She was scared to go before the king, even though he was her husband, because there are these weird rules that you couldn't approach the king unless you're asked. She said, okay, ask Mordecai to fast and pray, and all the Jews to fast and pray for her. And she fasted and prayed for 3 days. Finally, she went up to where the king was and went, finally, she got in to talk to him, and he's like, oh, Esther. And he looked at Esther, and he really liked her. And he said, what do you want, Esther? Anything will be granted to you up to half my kingdom. Wow, that's pretty good, huh? And she goes, well, I just want you to come to a banquet, you and Haman.
So they have a banquet.
You guys know what a banquet is? They might not know what a banquet is.
Go ahead, tell.
Well, we don't do this now because we're having to social isolate.
Thanksgiving is a banquet.
Yeah. You get around with a bunch of people and have a bunch of food. That's a banquet.
Like Thanksgiving.
Okay.
The king's eating and drinking with Haman and the queen, and everything is going great, but he's kind of going, what does she want? Queen, what is it that you want?
I want you and Haman to come back to another banquet, and then I'll tell you then.
So now the king's really wondering, what is it that she wants? She wants something. I wonder what it is. That night, the king can't sleep, so he's reading the diary. And he reads in the diary about
Mordecai saving him from the 2 guards.
Now here's an interesting thing. You think about, well, maybe life just goes along and this is all by chance. Do you think it was just chance that the king couldn't sleep that night and he just happened to read about Mordecai?
No, I think God ordained it.
Interesting. To save some people, right?
Yes.
To save the Jews, the exiled Jews. Okay, so anyway, the next day, the king calls Haman.
Wait, no, you skipped a part. The king called his royal officials and said, read to me from the diary.
Yeah, right.
And they read that part, and he goes, wait, what did we give Mordecai? Because he saved my life. And he's like, nothing.
So the next day, he asks Haman how to reward such a special person. And what did Haman say?
No, Haman goes, oh, I'm so great. He wants to reward me. I'm so wonderful. And so he told the king what he would want done. He said, put a royal robe on him, put him on the royal horse, lead him through the city, and say, this is the man the king wants to honor.
Because he saved his life. So then Haman had to do this. and he got his enemy Mordecai, and he's only the enemy because he wouldn't bow down and worship him, which is so stupid. I mean, the guy was, these guys are arrogant and proud. So they put him on the horse, do all this, and then Haman goes home to his wife. Boo-hoo, 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 it's such a bad day.
He's such a baby. When the king asked Haman what should be done for a man he wants to honor, that was right at the same time when Haman was about to come in and ask the king if he could hang Mordecai.
So they go through, and he goes home and says to wife, I'm ruined. I just did this. And the wife said, yep, you're toast.
Yep, you got it. That's when Esther told the king what was really going on.
She told the king she was a Jew. She said, Haman's going to kill all the people because they're Jews, and I'm a Jew, so Haman's going to kill me, your queen. The king was furious, and he goes marching out of the banquet hall.
Haman came up to Esther and was begging for his life, and the king walked back in, and the king got even madder. And the guards came in and covered his face and said, you're about to die.
And then what happened to all the Jews? Because the king could not overturn his edict.
So he just made another edict.
So Esther was a hero.
Heroine.
A heroine. In hard times such as these, she prayed to God, and God overturned the evil.
And ever since then, the Jews have celebrated a holiday called Purim when they tell this story. Wow, God got rid of Haman, the enemy, and he can keep us safe, and we don't have to worry about our enemies because we got God on our side.
Haman was somebody who used his power to oppress other people. That's not what Jesus did with his power. He used his power to love everyone. So guys, as you can see, Haman's hatred ruined his own life. And guys, there's a particular kind of hatred that we're talking about right now in our own country called racism. And it can ruin your life. For kids and parents, I think this is a wonderful occasion to have that conversation. Are we aware of any hate that we might harbor against those who see the world differently, against those who look different? In this story, and I believe throughout the Bible, God shows us that hate is far from his heart. So my brothers and sisters, I think we can aspire to be a little bit more like Esther, who used her power and her voice and her influence to help those who are in need. May we do the same. I hope you guys have a wonderful conversation after this video, and I hope you have a wonderful Sunday morning. May God's kingdom come. Godspeed.